Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started just a minute or so as people are still joining on. So bear with us and we'll be getting going before you know it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We want to thank everybody for your time here today, and pleased to be joined here with Centrilogic. Great partner that has a special niche here in the NetSuite space, as well as lots of other areas. But great partner, and great to join you guys today to kind of share some things of how to better get at and utilize some of that information living in the NetSuite ERP using the modern technology and analytics capabilities with the Microsoft Power BI and other surrounding elements there. So for our agenda today, we just want to start with some introductions of ourselves on the line, a little bit about Centrilogic, Preferred Strategies, quick launch, and then dive into the real, meat of the session around the live demonstration of how you can actually utilize these technologies with the NetSuite specifically, and then open up Q&A at the end. Also, there will be a gift card. You have to be here at the end of the session to have a chance to win the gift card. And if you have any questions on the GoToWebinar panel on the right, there should be a questions. Feel free to post those questions. We'll tackle those once we get through the live demonstration as we wrap up. So a little bit about ourselves on the call. Again, my name is Adam Krieger. I'm the president, founder of Preferred Strategies, and kind of came from an ERP background in finance, and that's kind of how I got engaged in the domains that we're in today. I'll go ahead and let all of us, Ben, if you want to go next, and then.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ben Harrison. I'm the Vice President of Product Management at Preferred Strategies. I actually have been doing data and analytics through different ERP systems at a number of companies over the years. I've been working at Preferred Strategies for 4 years, but I've been actually working with Adam for almost 20 years in terms of data modeling and reporting. So I really love this topic. I love talking about it, and I'm excited to show you today a little bit of our NetSuite solution.
Awesome, and I'll go next. My name is Nevin Kumar, and I oversee the NetSuite sales practice here at Centrilogic. I've been working with the NetSuite platform for the better part of a decade now. My day-to-day here, really what I do is I work with our clients to get them up and running on the NetSuite platform, whether it's a net new implementation or ongoing assistance or optimization management of the system. And really what we focus on doing is just helping organizations run their businesses more efficiently, and really just extracting maximum returns and value from the investment that they make in their technology.
Awesome.
So I'll take this as well. So a little bit about Centrilogic, the organization as a whole. We were established over 15 years ago. We're headquartered out of Canada with multiple locations across Canada, as well as the Toronto region surrounding areas. We've also got multiple regional offices in the United States and the United Kingdom, with a few regional offices internationally located as well. In addition to NetSuite and the application world, Centrilogic is a full stack end-to-end solution provider. And so that's really what this graphic here is illustrating. Not only can we help in and around things like application management with NetSuite, JD Edwards, eBusiness Suite, but we can also help and assist around key initiatives as it relates to cloud, hosted infrastructure, development, security, networking connectivity, database, etc. We really do pride ourselves in our customer first approach and being able to understand the holistic challenges that a customer faces. And so we use all of our practice areas to really get familiarized and help deliver, relevant holistic solutions to help provide, a true competitive advantage to your organization as it relates to your overall technology stack. And then I think moving onwards, just to talk a little bit about the NetSuite practice specifically, it really is broken into 3 key areas, being professional services, managed services, as well as our integration and development practice. Our professional services practice is really, our flexible customer-first approach and being able to help implement net new modules, net new instances of NetSuite, really helping with those ad hoc type initiatives that an organization may have, whether that's implementing a new process or maybe putting together or setting up a new module within the system. Our integration practice extends upon that and just brings in the technical layer where we can assist with integrations into third-party platforms, development of custom applications that may sit inside of or on top of NetSuite, and just essentially being able to extend the capabilities of the platform far beyond what's I would say available natively or out of the box. And then managed services really is our most proactive, kind of most tenured service that we've had in the NetSuite space. Our managed services practice is over a decade old at this point, and what we really do there is provide a team of dedicated resourcing that sits alongside our client user team to provide ongoing assistance as it relates to any of your NetSuite and third-party application-related needs.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Nevin. And just to kind of recap, we're excited to be here together, and we've had a long-term partnership with Centrilogic for years, and now seeing this grow in the NetSuite space is great. And really, where Preferred Strategies and Centrilogic seem to align is in our core competencies, and we'll get in through the demonstration today with our quick launch and Power BI. And but with all of our NetSuite customers, it's always good to get that open collaboration across where people need help in different areas of the ERP. It's nice to have that ecosystem to share. So a little bit about us. We have been around for 20 years. We focus on ERP, CRM, and analytics. We started out 20 years ago, not in NetSuite per se. It was actually JD Edwards, and evolved as customers moved into the NetSuite arena and wanted to bring their quick launch technology that way, and that's kind of how we got going. But we've got hundreds of customers that we do this, and we've got a very kind of thorough solution that's been consistent, utilizing the Microsoft Power BI and surrounding technologies Ben will show you in the live demonstration today. A little bit about Power BI. If you're new to the technology, there's several different options in the world. So the most common I think we see is whatever the query tool is, export to Excel and build a pivot table. But outside of that, really for companies that are looking to kind of move the needle in the direction regarding getting better access to their data and visualizing that data, you pretty much go to maybe like Gartner, the Magic Quadrant, to figure out what technology should we be looking at. And you can kind of see here Microsoft is sitting out here in the leaders quadrant, furthest to the right on completeness of vision, and highest up the scale on ability to execute. So we're finding more and more companies that has become their de facto standard for analytics, and they just haven't figured out how to get it to work against NetSuite just yet. And so that's what we're here to hopefully show you today on how some of that may work and how you can start leveraging that as it's part of your Microsoft footprint already. A little bit about what you're going to see in the demonstration is really more how you can consume information, how you can build things, but it's all around the Microsoft stack. So Power BI is the key. That's going to be really the driver of this direction, but there's different types of technologies that we'll also walk through. Paginated reports, we use those for like income statements and balance sheets that would be right on top of the NetSuite. environment there, and then also showing how you can do some ad hoc right with an Excel spreadsheet. But the key there is you've got your NetSuite living in the cloud. We're going to basically mirror that data off of the NetSuite environment into what we call an ODS. And then we're going to load a Power BI data set from that ODS that becomes that governed source of truth and already has the measures for actuals and budgets and month to date, quarter to date, year to date, revenue, gross profit. And so that's kind of the key of getting that governance and kind of separating that from, the NetSuite as it's a dedicated environment just for analytics. So in a nutshell, as I pass over to Ben to kind of get into the live demonstration, it's really thinking about getting numbers, rows, and columns on a page, whether that's in a spreadsheet or an extract, and getting something more visual and interactive for users to be able to kind of find some outliers and make some better decisions based on their NetSuite data. So at this point, we'll come back. Like I said, please post your questions in the questions panel and stay around to the end, and we'll be announcing a winner of the $50 Amazon gift card. So Ben, take it away.
Okay, I'll take it away. Thank you. And I'm going to turn off my camera just to save bandwidth and screen space on and I need to make sure I'm showing the right screen. I am. It looks like that one. Good. So thank you, Adam. So I want to talk about the data model, and you notice that second to last slide, there's that blue cube. So I'm going to refer to the blue cube a lot. It's actually this data model. And what I want to start with in Power BI is the desktop tool. This is downloadable from Microsoft. It's free, and you can start dabbling with the reporting and analytics really quickly. But we don't sell Power BI. We sell, a blue cube or this data model. We call it Quick Launch. In this case, I'm looking at a general ledger portion of that blue cube, and it's important to understand that's just a portion of it. And what I want to kind of illustrate is how would you start building reports if you had that governed data set. So I might come to the account table, say, well, I'd like account and description in my report. And quickly, you can see I get it there right away. I'm going to make a little more space here. And so then I also say, well, maybe I want to know what's my inception to date actual cost. So I'm going to come to the main kind of fact table. We call it the GL balances detail. And this is where a lot of the magic of our model is. If you think in here, I've got, measures that are built upon on expenses, revenue, net income, gross profit. I might have base measures or budgets or any number of things to do. But this is what allows kind of an end user, not a specialist in IT, to start creating reports. So I'll go to the actual folder here and bring in actual amount inception to date. And you notice I've got no data here, but that's actually an important thing to consider. What we want to do is consider time-based elements of data. You're always analyzing data over time. So one of the first things that our model has added is this idea of a calendar function that is defining today, yesterday, last year, this month last year. And so I'm going to start kind of deciding to slice right now by a calendar year period. It could be a fiscal period. It could be a 554 week period. I'm going to just make this a drop down. So you can see it's all interactive. It's just basically some dragging and dropping. But I'll go to, well, let's pick my calendar. I'm going to pick a couple years ago, 2018, maybe period 5. So once I've defined the idea of the time, right, this is the month I care about, now I can start getting that data back. And again, this is, the calendar is good. You're going to use it all the time as your report in terms of timing, trending, and you'll see some examples in a moment. So I've got actual amount, inception to date, ITD, and in that same folder, that fact table, I have maybe something like actual amount prior year, inception to date. So just that quickly, I didn't click the right box there, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea of, I've put the numbers in there. I'll delete that one for now. I've created a quick report here where I can go and change the month and go to a new month, a new date, a new year, new whatever it might be, and say, well, what was it, in June or maybe in August? And quickly, I'm just changing all my data on the fly, and it's calculating instantly there. Another feature of Power BI is there's a lot of visualization choices. So I might look at that in a grid, but maybe I want to Control C and Control V, because of course it's Microsoft, so it acts the same way any copy paste does in the Microsoft world. And I might want to start looking at a clustered bar chart for that. In this case, by default, it's descending right now by actual amount inception to date in descending order, and I can see the prior year also in the same grid. So just really, this is meant to be an introduction to the idea that I've got a governed data set that many more people in your company can start kind of doing self-service analytics, because it's really based upon the things that are in NetSuite, the class, the category, the department, the entity, expense category, whatever you're using there can be part of this model as well. Instead of building a full report out, I'd like to now just jump to some kind of pre-built reports. One of the things we do deliver with the data model is a pre-built sort of set of reports to get started with. So I'm going to jump from the Power BI desktop tool. Within the same ecosystem of Power BI, there's a shared service. And just to maybe emphasize, when you're done writing a report in the desktop tool, you essentially click this publish button, and it pushes that report out to the service, where now I can see it on any device, anywhere, mobile. You'll kind of get that idea. I'll go through all those elements here. So either way, let's go over to the service, and now I'm looking at the Power BI service tool. This is just a web browser, and I'm going to start in a thing called an app. So in Power BI, there's reports, there's workspaces, a pretty powerful ecosystem. But if I go look at these app choices, let's go look at the demo NetSuite app, just to start with. And here I mentioned to you, I have some sample reports. Adam had mentioned we've got Power BI reports, we've got paginated reports, and I'll show you Excel in just a minute. But if I start looking at maybe the general ledger, and I've got multiple pages in this general ledger report, and I've started looking at some KPIs. KPIs are really powerful. They give people a quick visual of, I'm good on revenue, it's green, this is red. Why is it red? Because I'm behind my prior year, and maybe I'm behind my goal, my budget for the year, right? So this is the idea of giving a quick visual of just month to date, quarter date, and year to date of what's going on in my business. That's going to drive me to ask some questions about, well, I look at gross profit, I wonder if my expenses are up, but on the way towards the expenses tab, let me look at revenue. One of the things I've been doing analytics for a long time, these are that idea of year and period. I showed you the calendar table, so I can slice and dice and change the month, but I can also change the time frame that I'm looking at. Right here, I'm looking at these lines on a year-to-date basis, and you can see again, the calendar drives a month and the trend over time. But maybe I want to look at that by quarter to date, and my charts change. Maybe I want to look at that by month to date. And again, I've done analytics for companies for a long time. These are important features because these changes in the time frame allow me to see different variances. I see different information. I understand different outliers or correlations or trends based upon the ability to kind of change the time frame that I'm looking at. Another thing that we do see a lot of, people think of all these things up here at the top. These are what I might use to slice and dice my reporting. But with modern reporting, you actually can use the filtering to do that. So I can actually just pick that bar, and essentially I've cross-filtered. So one of the things we find companies doing as they embrace these tools is it changes how you think about reports, how you want to use them, how you design them. Every page of a report should tell a story that lets me take action. That's the point about that, is data should lead to action or insights. Moving on to expenses, you can see here I'm on that year-to-date still. I inherited that from the previous page. I can change that to quarter date, and I'll do that real quickly and then change it back. I do like the month, the year-to-date look the best, but quarter date's really nice as well. But the idea now is I've got an expense problem. I can see it's red. I can see it looks like cost of goods sold is a little bit higher, but I'm not getting much information here. But this waterfall chart, I can see a story there. I've got my tech company is way over budget variance to this waterfall. So if I hover over that, I not only get the 4.5 million variance, that's that first number, this this tooltip shows up and gives me context. So is that 4.5 million out of 5 million, or is it 4.5 million out of 100 million? That matters. The context gives me insight into how severe is my problem, where do I need to go look to that. But even now I want to say, well, what's next? Why is that? Why am I 4.5 million? So I'm going to right click and drill down. I've drilled down to the next level in this particular report, and I can see it looks like it's my prime cost of goods sold, and I could continue to drill down for a while, but I'm going to do the next thing and drill down to the transactions. And this is where, we think in that data model it's really important to think about what's the hierarchy I need as I drill down, and then eventually I need to drill through to the transactions. Now my data set, this is just a journal entry summary for the month, but if the year to date, the month to date had journal entries, reversals, all the documents and transactions that are in your transaction table in NetSuite are going to be here if they relate to the general ledger, so I can understand really what is the outlier, what didn't get reversed, what happened that didn't happen before, because the insight that I'm looking for is going to be validated upon the details. The details give me the answer I'm looking for, but the details also give me confidence in my reporting, because through any element I can go through and say, wow, that's what happened there, and now I understand. Or maybe it leads me to even ask more questions about why does that happen every month? Why does that happen every quarter? And so maybe start fixing my business processes that lead to those errors. So we've been looking kind of at a general ledger report. I could go through more. I'll do one more thing here. In our general ledger model, we're going to build you an account hierarchy of, you help us define what this is. Some of this is going to come out of the account types that are assigned to accounts already, but some of it's going to be further detailed down. The point is that, as you start looking at your balance sheet or your income statement, these hierarchies become standard that allow you to be consistent across reports. It's a built-in hierarchy that everyone's using the same one. That blue cube is this governed data set that allows you to be very repetitive in terms of getting the data. I'll cover two more modules here real quick, and then we've got a bunch more to do, but so we're really looking at general ledger report. We also have maybe an accounts payable report, and in this case I might be looking at maybe some invoice analysis. Again, I might want to cross-reference and say, well, Digger Enterprises, what they've been doing, or I might come over and say, look at my department full names and understand what's there. Once again, I can drill down or drill through if that's the appropriate step I want to do in a given value or given visual. But beyond the the invoice kind of details, I might eventually want to know, well, show me my aging. Now my data is old on current aging, but I can go back to my as of aging and start understanding, wow, as of this particular date and time, this was my aging, and I can recreate that. I can look at another month. So the idea of that as of aging is very powerful. As before, if I want to know, well, what is this value, I could drill through and go look at the invoice details. Again, the model is deep, so I have the transaction details and then summarize up by anything you want to group by any kind of dimension or table that's part of that model. And you can add things to that model too. That blue cube is not strictly NetSuite data. It could be NetSuite and some other data set that is important for you to analyze against. As in AP, so back to the AP, just to, I'm going to go to the mobile device in a little while, and we're going to look at this page, and I'll show you, what happens when you want to take this data onto your phone that maybe is formatted differently, a little bit smaller. So remember this page. We'll come back here to accounts receivable. Again, same idea. I might be wanting to look at receivables by company, by segment, by anything you want to slice and dice by. I have the same calendaring function. I get a really nice summary here of total invoices and invoice amount in terms of receivable at this time. There's also receivables aging. Companies really find this helpful. It's not only what is the aging right this moment, but what has it been last month, the month before. So you can start identifying, customers maybe that are perpetually difficult on the collections process, and start maybe even doing a grading or evaluation of those customers in terms of what's it cost to do business with them. So these are traditional Power BI reports. They're very visually based. Power BI does allow you to have just rows and columns of data, but we do find that visualization is where you're going to get big wins in your company. About 65% of your employees are visually oriented. They see things graphically much faster than they find details in the rows and columns. And so that's what we've been looking at so far. Even so, it's important to have paginated reports, something like a really structured income statement. So again, this also is looking at the exact same data model as we mentioned before. That blue cube is here, and I've got a income statement formatted. I'm going to pick it for all my subsidiaries, and then I wanted to go over here and just say, let's go ahead and view this report. Again, I'm running it for a specific month and year, so that I can start getting that detail. But now I've got really the type of thing you could print out, give to your bank, give to your surety, whoever needs to see this, make it available to the shareholders. But when I'm closing the month and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, I also have the ability to drill down. I can drill down on the revenue, I can drill down on the source sales, and eventually I drill through to the actual transactions of the details, right? So I can understand what's happening there and get to that information and really start making, taking action to fix things if they're not correct. You get the, I guess the point I'm saying is that detail in that blue cube is usable everywhere, anywhere, anytime. So we do find the paginated reports really useful for certain applications, whereas most analysis is probably going to be using some of those traditional reporting tools, but the paginated is really, really helpful. I'm going to switch gears here kind of quickly and say, well, we looked at that chart, we looked at Power BI, we looked at paginated reports, and here's what we believe. Excel is really good at doing some things, but the approach that we've done forever, and I did this for decades, literally decades, you download a bunch of data into a spreadsheet, you have multiple tabs, you do a bunch of lookups, and pretty soon you have a masterpiece. But if I'm not there, no one else in the world understands how that spreadsheet was built. There's too much logic, there's too much errors built into that. And so in this case, I've got the exact same model. I mean, I'm not kidding, it's the same model. I've gone out to data, I said get data, and I said connect to the Power BI platform. And so when I'm looking in Power BI and I'm saying, give me my actual amount inception to date for a year and a period, and I look in Excel and say, give me the actual amount inception to date for a year and a period, I'm getting the same numbers because they're the same data set. So again, think of that power of not disagreeing. If my report disagrees with Adam's report, it's not because we are looking at different data or we're not confused about that. So you eliminate a lot of that. It also gives IT a lot of governance power that over the, how do you know that you're looking at validated information? So I remember when I was on Power BI desktop, I built a quick calendar period, labels, and you can start making the calendar go across the rows, as rows, columns, and doing anything here in Power BI, but the data is coming that you'd be doing in Power BI, but in Excel, the data is still coming from that Power BI service. One of the small benefits of that is the data set. I didn't download millions of rows of data into this. I've downloaded summary data for this month and period. That means this spreadsheet is really small. It's about 26 kilobytes. So instead of emailing a 24 megabyte file, I'm managing and getting information around that's very small, very accessible, and very, very portable. At the same time, I'm logged in here as Ben Harrison, right? So what that means is I'm only getting data from that blue cube that I'm allowed to see. So that govern, that security, that maintainability is all built into this so that I can see what I'm supposed to see and Adam can see what he's supposed to see and Nevin can see what he's supposed to see, even though we're using perhaps the same spreadsheet. So very powerful in terms of that governed data set, using the right tool for the job is the way we like to think of that. And sometimes Excel is the perfect tool, sometimes Power BI is, and sometimes paginated reports. I'm going to do two more stops here, and then we'll have some questions And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my phone. So give me a second here to get the screen sharing up. And the thing that most people want is they want the ability to go and look at this from a, probably anywhere, any time. And that's kind of what we expect these days, right? So here's my iPhone. I'm logged into an app, a Power BI app that comes from the, the phone store. It could be the Apple Store. It could be from the Google Store as well if it's Android. But remember I mentioned to you that accounts payable report, and it was formatted in the look, kind of that screenshot you see there. But I'm going to go ahead and open it on my phone. And when I do that, I've formatted it so that it works on my phone. I can use it. I can start scrolling through. I could actually change the month and year and date, and I could actually start making comments. I'll mention that. We'll get back in a minute and I'll show you what that looks like. But the idea that I'm doing the same things I would do in the web, but I can do that here, and I can format it so that it's useful for me with this particular tool. Another neat feature is, though, if I wanted to see the full report and I just turn my phone sideways, I get the same report as if I was in the browser. So again, really powerful, portability, adaptable for the screen size that I'm using right now. And we do find that that's really useful with the reporting. You get alerts on your phone. You can get all sorts of features that we don't have time to go into today. But if you think about that Gartner quadrant and why is Microsoft up so high in that corner, is because of these types of functionalities of ability to execute and completeness of vision. I think they really are doing a bang-up job. So let me get out of stop sharing my phone so it's not taking up space on the screen, and move back finally back to the Power BI surface one more time. So we've been talking a bit about the data model and how all this works together. And I want to go back to maybe my home, and I've shown you separately the GL and the AP and the AR functionality. And when we think about that blue cube, we've got, maybe I looked at general ledger, and if I look at prospective detail, this is a report that looks at that blue cube. And this is where I pulled in the data from the account table, and I pulled in actual amount inception to date and prior year inception to date. And that's how it's looking at that general ledger. And I showed you some, accounts payable data that was, as of aging and by department or by vendor and accounts receivables customer. But that blue cube is one blue cube. So in fact, what I'm saying is that if there's only one customer table in the model, there's only one vendor table. So if you're looking at maybe an accounts receivable, or if you're looking at across numbers from different parts of your system, as long as you have a common dimension, customer, vendor, account, department, I can create reports across those as easy as dragging and dropping them into the screen, the canvas. So start again merging data from multiple data sources. And as I mentioned before, this data model is not at all limited to only NetSuite data. In fact, I would say 95% of our customers want to have ERP data blended with something else. It might be CRM like Salesforce. It might be some sort of manufacturing support tool. It might be some sort of forecast and planning tool. But again, the future of analytics is not just the one system, but it's how do you analyze your entire enterprise. And really that's what Quick Launch is doing, is creating that foundation that will be what you build your future analytics on. There's a few features that I have a moment to show, but then Adam we're going to wind down and go into any questions, if that makes sense. So let me get here, and I'm going to go back to the general ledger report. So this is that report I was looking, and we're looking at the same report in the app space, but now I've gone to kind of the workspace. They kind of relate together. These are the same filtering that I had. This is the expenses that we drilled down in. This is the same report, just in a little bit different space. I wanted to mention here, subscribe, get insights, and the chat and team. Because this is all within Microsoft, you can really integrate this well with any other Microsoft capabilities like Teams. You can subscribe. This really mattered to me. I used to send out reports to 65 project managers, and they'd always change the date they wanted or what they wanted in it. And so the idea that people can manage their own subscriptions to reports and get them when they want them and be responsible for that. I can actually see if they subscribe, do they actually get it delivered? So there's a lot of visibility in terms of the provenance of your data and where it's going to, that I find very compelling, and would have saved me a lot of work if I'd had this back when I was distributing those reports. Something that's maybe not so intuitive, and I won't dwell on this right now, but that blue cube is sitting in memory in Azure. That's how it gets there, even though it's governed and controlled and managed. It's really a structured data source that becomes the foundation for future machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? So there's algorithms that can start sorting through, hundreds of millions of rows of data, looking for correlations or outliers that maybe you wouldn't find right away. So again, if you think about the foundation of building an analytics platform, you want to keep in mind that you want to build something that AI and ML will play well against. So I could show features and functionality in the Power BI world and how that works with Quick Launch, our kind of blue cube data model, for a long time. But Adam, I want to be sensitive, and do we have questions that have come up? Are there clarifications that I can take care of?
Yes, we do have some. So let me go ahead and take the screen back.
Okay.
So, let me know when you see my screen again. Okay, yeah, so let's go through some questions, and then we'll go ahead and announce the winner. So the first question, and these kind of came in, I did respond to some of these, but I don't think they were open to everybody. So I'll just go through them and then pose more feedback from Ben, you, and Nevin here as well. So with this model, do you have to develop it in the desktop, or can you users create reports in Power BI service? So the short answer on that was you can do both. We typically recommend our training kind of is best practice to do more of that in the desktop and publish it to Power BI service. Ben, anything else you want to add to that question?
No, I do make modifications in the service sometimes. The desktop tool today it has more functionality than the service in terms of new things you can do and set up. But Microsoft is working hard towards parity. Their intention, I think, is that one day there'll be one tool to write reports. But today the desktop's slightly superior, but you can still do a lot of the same things in either location.
And next question, can the data in the transaction details be exported to Excel?
Oh, yes, I didn't show that. So one of the things in the features of the Power BI service is it's really easy to right click on a single visual and say export that to Excel, or you can actually take entire data sets. You need to be mindful of how you make those connections, but certainly there's a great export and import functionality for visuals.
Next question, I'm using NetSuite and other apps like Salesforce. If we purchase Quick Launch, can data from all of these sources be brought together?
Yes.
Okay. And who would assist with this effort? So
that's again, obviously Centrilogic can be very helpful in some of this. Preferred Strategies, we see ourselves as a partner, long-term partner. What we'd like to do is teach our customers how to fish so that changes that they can make, they would do that. I'm babbling a bit. But so there's 3 levels, right? One is that you can take care of this model yourself. The second would be that maybe Centrilogic helps a little bit. Certainly, we are always available. Everyone expands their model. Nobody keeps it status quo. So those integrations, some are simple, some are complicated, but you have partners here who can help out.
Perfect. And I think on that same note, one of the other questions that came in was, does our data need to be cleaned before we can use Power BI? And I think that's the same thing as where we've actually asked, this question has come up several times in the past. And the question, the response is always, well, what do you need to clean, right? How do you know? And I think that's one of the things about getting a tool that gives you instant visibility will help you determine what needs to be cleaned, but come back to that same question, right? How do you accomplish that when you need to kind of know where you need to go and clean up? And that's where, again, Centrilogic would be a great partner to work with on helping on that regard as well. Do you have anything on that you want to share?
No, I think you hit it on the head there. I don't think I would add anything else. We are obviously open and available to assist with any of those integration and even data related needs. Should there be anything that obviously the preferred strategies team can't help with, we're well equipped and able to handle.
There's still a few more. So let's see. So what do you see as an advantage of using apps versus workspaces for Power BI reports?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So a workspace really is a place to collaborate on the development and validation and testing of reports. An app is, once you're happy with that, how that is, you kind of promote that report to the app that's associated with that workspace. And that's where consumers come. So your average person is not writing reports. Your average person is just dragging, changing filters, drilling down, and they would most likely do that within an app. It prevents them from opening the report and editing it, but allows them to open the report and consume it. And so that's where we think of apps as where consumers go, and workspaces are where people develop reports.
Is the data in the model real time?
It's not. It can be very near real time. Most of our customers are, refreshing that data set multiple times a day, many, as often as every 20, 30 minutes. The reason you don't want it to be real time is you want response quickly. So if I want to drill down and I've got 100 million rows and I want to filter down to some small subset of that, I don't want to run a query back to the source system. Then my little hourglass is going to spin and I won't get the results I need. So you think about, if you drill down and drill down and drill down 4 times to get the answer you're looking for, if you have to wait 45 seconds for each one of those responses, you won't do it, or people won't. People are not patient enough. And so you want that drill down functionality to return instant results, or microsecond results. And so that happens in an in-memory model, which if it's in memory, by default, it is not the live data. And that's maybe a longer answer than I intended, but does that make sense?
Yeah. Is drill through and drill down functionality available on the phone? And while that came up, Ben, while you were still going, I did test that. So yes, both of those work from the Power BI app.
And as are the commenting. I didn't show comments, but most of the functionality you can do in the web space, you can do in the phone as well.
And then the last one, what is the timeline to implement this solution? Ben, you want to take that?
Oh yeah, good question. So we do this all the time. We've been doing it for many years. Our current NetSuite schedule implementation is 10 weeks, so that once you sign the contract and get involved with us, we will have your NetSuite Blue Cube built out in 10 weeks, and the validation done and the training done. Right. So from a time to value, that's one of the things we're that makes us stand out. Building this yourself will take, honestly, months or years. and so we're in 10 weeks you'll be using this product.
And one other thing on that, to add to that, that I think part of that is also the initial foundation of getting the Power BI infrastructure and Azure related infrastructure where applicable kind of installed and configured. And it's another area as well. If you're new into the Azure space, then also another opportunity for Centrilogic to help out with providing some additional service. Anything, Nevin, about Azure assistance you want to speak to?
So we are an Microsoft Azure CSP, and we do have dozens of clients under our cloud tenant, and we support them on Azure. And so if there are any needs in and around the cloud as a whole, and any facets of essentially your Azure tenancy, we can help around that as well, certainly.
Perfect. All right, well, I think that's it for questions. And so the winner is Michael Holmes from Virginia Tire and Auto, I believe. So Michael, someone reaching out to kind of share with you a gift card. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some ideas on how to visualize and leverage your NetSuite data more effectively with the Microsoft tool suite. So thank you so much, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone.